Audible.com/.
No, it's funny you say the what are you, because I remember I was on the road once in my younger days, and when I toured a lot, and now I'm just here for Sundays, so whatever. Anyway, I remember being at breakfast at a hotel, and I heard two guys talking, and they were betting, they were wagering on what I was, and one of them came up to me and said, "Can I ask you a question?" Like, I was like, "You know what? I'm not to be wagered on." And it was like, and he was like, "Well, are you Italian or are you Greek?" And throughout my life, people have been so, and this used to be when I had bits, it was like the what are you bit, and it was like, what are you Greek? What are you Italian? What are you Puerto Rican? What are you this? What are you, what are you?
Yeah, I make my lasagna with feta cheese,
but nobody would ever say, "What are you Jewish?" I mean, it was the one thing that
really?
that's the answer, but nobody. It was like they're afraid to say, like, "What are you Jewish?" Unless a Jewish person will always know that's what you are.
I was going to say.
Yeah, a Jewish person knows.
I'm not Jewish, but I was going to say.
I was just say you're Jewish.
Right,
it's obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
Was this a New York thing or was this out of town? Or this
out of town. But
yeah, I was going to say Texas maybe I can see.
No, in New York people know you're a New Yorker. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In New York you're a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I love New York.
Right. And by the way,
I love New York.
Are you going to go back?
I go back.
Yeah. So you're bi-coastal.
I'm not. I mean, bi-coastal means you live both places.
Okay. You vacation at length in New York.
I usually go back at least once a year. Mitch plays also with Sandra Bernhard, and they do Christmas shows at Joe's Pub, and I go for that.
By the way, Sandra Bernhard, one of my comedy heroes.
Yeah.
And people.
She's on UnCabaret. She's on our Amazon show.
Oh, I know. And people look at me crazy when I say that.
Oh, why?
I don't know. I've seen over one-woman shows.
Oh, one person. Yeah.
One-person shows.
Man is a thing.
They were amazing. She did a show where she sang "Sweet Child of Mine" with an acoustic guitar. The best version of "Sweet Child of Mine" I've ever heard.
Aww.
She's a great singer and just somebody, and
well, she and
somebody's
Taylor,
inspiration.
She and Taylor were very close.
Right.
And that you can hear it in the way they talk. Also,
right.
They really grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
I met Taylor. They were at the Comedy Store together.
Right.
That was all group.
Mm-hmm.
That really came up at the Comedy Store. Robin, Sandra, Taylor.
Right.
There were others in that group. Lotus Weinstock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's funny to see like the clusters of.
Right.
Like the people that came out of the Groundlings
mm-hmm.
and the people that came out. I love that family part of it.
Right.
I really think of UnCabaret as a family.
Yeah. And the reason I was looking at the clock, because I can't believe how fast this show went. I told you.
I know.
When you're having fun, it just, I don't know. But I have to talk to you about the one-woman show, the most recent one.
Okay.
That's and let me see if I can get this right. It's you say it, I can't.
100% happy.
100% happy.
88% of the time.
100% happy, 88% of the time. Please explain that for.
Well, that idea was, let's see. Well, the idea there is, you can't be 100% happy 100% of the time, no matter what you do. There's this whole, industry of trying to help people be so happy.
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding of happiness is that you can be 100% happy 88% of the time if you're willing to be 100% unhappy 12% of the time.
Right.
And that sounds funny, but it's also so hard to be willing to be 100% unhappy. And then I had a whole.
Well, I'm actually 60-40, but that's.
I had a lot of jokes about how you could take the 12%, 12, certain number of hours a day, but that's an emotional speedball, and I did a lot of scientific math.
Mm-hmm.
But that it really came out of my friend Bruce Eric Kaplan, who's a cartoonist for the New Yorker, was saying, you should really be doing seminars on like happiness and something, and that title came out of that.
You want to be a self-help teacher?
He was just like, you have so much more to give than like being a comedy teacher. Why are you doing comedy teaching?
Right.
That's not. It's not your whole. It's not big enough for you.
Right.
And you should be doing something bigger. So, and then we had gotten evicted from this apartment.
I heard about that.
And through no fault of our, it was like new people moving in, whatever. And
that happened to me too. I didn't get evicted, but that's why I went to New Orleans and Las Vegas.
Right.
I could totally relate to that because I was living. Yeah, it was the whole thing. But they slapped 6-day notice on the door. I was like, I think it's time for me to have a fresh start.
When God says, that's Julia's story. God says, "Ha."
Right.
So, but and it was a beautiful story of there were signs and symbols and birds and Anyway, we get to the desert, and there was like it was one day, and I opened the door, and there's a dove sitting there, and I'm like, oh, well, it's our nest. And then, 2 days later, evicted. And when we get to the desert, the first morning, I open the door and there's like 100 doves out on the telephone wire, and I'm like, you know what? It's not just me being evicted; it's the whole world. We're all being evicted.
Right.
It's an eviction into a changed consciousness, into a new way of thinking. The shift is really happening, and oh my God, the shift is really hitting the fan. And this was when the 2012 thing was really big, and what's going to happen.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a lot of what does it mean? And I started to see, and I did some reading about happiness and the science of happiness, and I really started to see that your own, call it happiness, peace of mind, whatever you had was affecting all the people near you. The best thing you could do it's not that radical an idea, that the thing to do to change the world is to really change yourself. And I started looking at myself and my life, and and then it was a very happy ending. There was a crystal healing, and there was an angel healing. Really, I had this back pain for any number of years. I had tried everything, a lot of comedy in that, healing pain, a lot of comedy. The blind acupuncturist, that's a hilarious story. And I ended up at Louise Hay's New Age, I Can Do a convention in Vegas. And but I was there as a journalist. And Doreen Virtue, who's an angel healer, and I'm very skeptical about angels.
What's an angel healer?
An angel healer is somebody who uses angels to heal, but I always say that's where I draw my woo-woo line. UFOs, yes, angels, no. I don't know why. I just thought that's the hokiest thing. And maybe it was the bad art. There's all that bad angel art. If they were so powerful, would they really allow all that art? So, and then she was like, well, maybe I could just do it on you. And I was like, oh, geez, okay. And then she's doing all these little things like, the strings, the mother, and then she says, do you have any questions for your angels? And I'm like, well, I don't know, I've been having this like horrible first she says, oh, your angels don't want me to tell you, no dairy. All right, and then she says, your angels want me to tell you, you can't smoke. And I was like, anything? Nothing. I said, can I drink? And she said, yes, your angels say you can drink.
Just not milk.
And then I was like, well, I thought that gave the angels more credibility. At least they weren't against partying per se, right? But, since then I've realized, like, I can't drink. I can't drink. But, like, you can only, and I did quit smoking pot, and then, took another 9 months or whatever to realize I had to quit drinking. You can only, the huge lesson, if you're not interested in comedy, listeners, but you are interested in changing, you can really only get like one spiritual lesson at a time. You can only hear the next step. So in this healing, had they been, yes, you need to stop drinking, I never would have even listened. Anyway, she says, do you have any questions for your angels? And I say, yeah, I've had this back pain. And she says, oh my God, you have this enormous psychic dagger in your back.
What?
That's what I said. And then she says, but really, I said, you know what, Doreen? That is what it feels like. Like, I'd been to all these healers, and I was like, acupuncture, yoga, blah, 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 chiropractic. I was like, that's what it feels like. She says, do you want me to take it out? And I was like, oh, no, now that I know what it is, just leave it in. So she says, it's out. And honestly, it healed it. And so
she took the psychic dagger out.
She says it's out. I mean, nothing happened. She was like, okay, it's out. Like, it wasn't like any other woo-woo. It wasn't like any incantation. And it really did, and at that time I'd been given like 1,000, somebody gave me 10,000 crystals to give away. I really got deep into it. Geo-healing on the land, and all of it.
Did you try the miracle water? Or?
I didn't have that, but I could have. I mean, I did go see Dr. Emoto live. Yeah, I was into it, deep into it. And in the end, there is a sort of a healing of, it's a healing show. It's about me finding healing and peace in this house in the desert. But while I was doing the show, then, art is very powerful. If you're doing real art, it's going to change your life. And as I'm doing the show, I'm like, oh, this marriage that I'm in, that's the happy marriage, is part of the show, that's over. And the house, I can't live here anymore. It's like, I can't live in the desert. I'm a people person. I need to be in LA, and I can't drink. What's the thing of where I can drink? I can't drink, and it was just like, it was such a show of transformation for me, and the whole idea of having to be 12% unhappy I couldn't do it. I had to learn. I said
You had
it.
to learn to
I
be.
had to learn to do that, to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's something I've been working on since I started doing the show, and that has made the biggest difference. And really coming back to UnCabaret has been